Good morning, everybody. This is your boy D Mac. I don't know what happened. Yeah, so we'll just go. Um, so this morning I want to open up and talk about something that a lot of people don't really talk about: deadbeats. Now, when you hear the word deadbeat, what's the first thing that popped in your mind? Well, based on the last 30 years, if uh, man pop in your mind, then that's absolutely what is supposed to take place. For the simple fact that when you hear the word deadbeat over the last 20 or 30 years, it has often been connected to deadbeat fathers. And that was very prevalent for a long time. So it's understandable that when you hear the word deadbeat, that you attribute it to a father. But if you're a little bit older and you can go back about 50 years or so, something like that, the word deadbeat, it had a more broader coverage, and it pretty much described anybody who was unreliable. And that could be man, woman, boy, girl, doesn't matter. If you are a very unreliable person and unpredictable and you are not solid, as they say, then use a deadbeat. And a lot of times we get caught up in words and we don't understand how words had one definition, but over time, the definition of those words have evolved. And I ain't even gonna say that the definition has evolved, but the meaning of those words has evolved. And so the definition to a lot of words that we use in our everyday just conversation with each other has changed significantly, and people are starting to miscommunicate or use the wrong words to describe things, and it causes a lot of confusion in communication. So when I hear deadbeat, yeah, if I'm 35, 40 years old, then yeah, I'm going to think about deadbeat father, no dad in the house, stuff like that, because we endured that generation or those generations. But like I stated before, if you're older, then that word is going to carry a more broader view. And this is the way I use the word. I use it in a very broad sense. I don't use it to just marginalize one group of people because I understand that a deadbeat is more than a male. It can be female, anything, anybody who carries those characteristics described in its definition, then, they carry that label. And that's just how it is. But carrying labels is a very dangerous thing, also, because if you going to attach yourself to a label, then everything that comes with that label, you're going to have to be willing to embrace. And this is another place where people are having issues because they're not having a full understanding of the label that they are attaching to themselves. And so when people start to treat them according to their understanding of what that label is, people get offended, people get uh, just be in their feelings all types of way. And so we have to understand what these words mean if we're going to actually use words effectively when dealing with other people. And so this is our breakdown in communication that we're having. So when I see deadbeats, man, I know I've seen deadbeat children. We've seen deadbeat children. We've seen the scenario where the children get older and the children have always been spoiled all their life, so they don't have any appreciation or respect for money or spending it. And then they take their parents who uh, not only brought them into this world, but took care of them and pretty much spoiled them rotten. And then when they get older, they show their appreciation by putting their parents in a old folks home so that they can go out and chase whatever dreams they want or what they have. That's a deadbeat. That's a deadbeat child. That's, you know what I'm saying? That is, it is what it is. And we see this all the time. We see deadbeat uncles. We've seen the scenario of the old drunk uncle or the crackhead uncle. Every time you see him, what's up, nephew? Let me get $1. No, nephew, let me hold on to something. You know what I'm saying? We've always seen this scenario. We've always seen the scenario of the deadbeat females. A deadbeat female would be what? Um, Mothers who abandon their children, um, mothers who murder their children, all types of different scenarios that describe deadbeat mothers. We have deadbeat everything. So we can't just um, take it and limit it to one specific group. No, it's not just deadbeat fathers. There's deadbeat mothers. There's deadbeat children. There's deadbeat siblings. Oh my gosh, there are some deadbeat siblings, and we call these sibling rivalries. But what it is most of the time is that the siblings, as they grow up and they grow older and begin to get their own personalities and begin to find out who they are, and they start to grow apart. They resent each other for it because they remember how close they were as children. And some siblings do not know how to express their emotions in a proper way. And so they'll use anger and avoidance and distance from their siblings. And this constitutes as a deadbeat sibling. If you have a younger sibling and you avoid your younger sibling when you're supposed to be one of the people to impart into your younger sibling, then you're a deadbeat sibling. You're a deadbeat older brother. You're a deadbeat older sister. You know what I'm saying? And the younger ones, the younger brothers and the younger sisters, you can be deadbeat as well because your older siblings need your support. They need your understanding. Sometimes they need your perspective because you're from maybe from a different generation as your older siblings are, and you have to bridge that gap between, your older siblings and yourself. And so there's so many different scenarios, and um, there's so many different examples you could use to describe what a deadbeat is. But I'm pretty sure we already have that established. So now let's go into the next part of it. So how do we pick and choose reliable people in our lives? Because what I'm seeing is people are trying to force unreliable people to be reliable, and it's not working. And so now we have a whole bunch of unreliable people because they were never held to any standard. We have a bunch of these unreliable people, these deadbeat people working in very important positions and doing very important things in this country and in this world, or these tasks have been placed on them, but because of their unreliability, we're suffering from it. Look at our president. Now, I'm not saying that this man is, well, no, I am saying he's unreliable. He's unreliable because he knows that he's not fit for this job. Let's just say it. He's not fit for this job. He could be a good backup like he was to Obama. He was a good vice president, and many people question that. But to take the role as the lead puts you into a whole different level of expectation, a whole different level of just respect. And some people are better as a vice president as opposed to a president. I will say some people are better in the background and not up front, and it's just what it is. But we have this thing with us to where we try to force people out front to represent us who really do not qualify. And then when they get up there and they show everybody that they don't qualify, now we want to reprimand them, or we want to criticize them, but we are the ones who put them there. We got to remember that. And when I say we, I'm talking about I'm not going to say all the people, but elections show where people's mindset lies. Elections are not about electing a representative for us. Elections are just to find out how many people carry this mindset versus how many people carry other mindsets. That's it. That's what elections are about. And I don't care, who begs to differ or whatever the case may be. That is my opinion. That is my observation. And I'm sticking with that because that is what I see. I don't see elections doing anything more than that. And we choose these deadbeats because we have a a variety of people to choose from. Especially the last election, we had a multitude of Democrats to choose from, and Joe Biden is what you came up and said was the best choice out of all of those young, bright, talented pool of people, which no one can deny that there was a young, bright, talented pool of people who was picked. The oldest and the most frail. Well, no, he wasn't the most. Well, yeah, he is the oldest and the most frail because Bernie has way more fire in the gut than Joe Biden does. Absolutely. Only thing Joe Biden has on anybody was that he was the vice president to the first black president. That's all. But Joe Biden is a deadbeat president. I mean, it is what it is. If you don't like that, then I'm sorry, but the truth is the truth. So I'm not sorry. But yeah, we have a deadbeat president, we have a deadbeat government, and we have a deadbeat nation. We've become a deadbeat as a whole, as an entire nation. We have become deadbeats. And that mindset is going to sink into every single person. The more and more that the infrastructure of this country crumbles before our eyes. You're seeing it every day, all day. The things that we used to take for granted, like taking flights or just transportation and taking trips, these things are becoming a real hazard for the simple fact of the crumbling infrastructure. Bridges and overpasses are collapsing in our countries on a regular basis now. And why is this? Because we don't have reliable people at the helm when it comes to keeping our infrastructure strong and intact. This is the core of our nation. When I say infrastructure, this is the skeleton of our nation, everything that keeps us strong from the inside out. And we have unreliable, unqualified people in these positions. So it's like you need some milk. We have a calcium deficiency because our skeletal system, our infrastructure is very brittle at this time. And why is that? Well, because we have deadbeats in place. We put people in place who are unreliable. And we know that they're unreliable, but they identify with our emotions, and so we will carry with that. Oh well, he makes me feel like this, and he makes me, and I feel the same way he does on that. But does that make you right? No, that's just somebody who makes you feel like you're right. But feeling like you're right and being right are two totally different things, and it's very important to know the difference between the two. So, you know, it boggles the mind that we continue to walk in this type of ignorance, but this is necessary. This is necessary for us to learn. It's necessary for us to learn. We're going to continue to go through these patterns. We have deadbeats on our TV every single day that we just celebrate. We celebrate all of these deadbeats. We have deadbeats on social media that we celebrate all the time. Let me see who's a couple of these deadbeats that we celebrate all the time. Um, Kwame Brown. Kwame Brown is a deadbeat that we celebrate all the time. That dude, he absolutely is. You know, he's come back out of nowhere because somebody said something about him, and people looked at him as like a spokesperson for the people that get picked on and stuff, and he turned it into something else. He started off with good intentions, he started off with a good message, and then he became a deadbeat. He has. He's become exactly what he's criticized. He's become exactly what he spoke against. He's a deadbeat. And there's been many, many other deadbeats that have come across our TV screens and come across our social media uh, screens and stuff like that, and we still follow them and we still look to them for guidance or for inspiration or for whatever people look to these people for, and they're deadbeats. A lot of the spiritual leadership are deadbeats. Al Sharpton, deadbeat. Um, TD Jakes, deadbeat. Who else? Who else out there? Noel Jones, deadbeat. Um, Eddie, Bishop Eddie Long, deadbeat. Creflo Dollar, deadbeat. Kenneth Copeland, deadbeat. Joyce Myers, deadbeat. All of these people who are looked upon as spiritual leaders are deadbeats. They're unreliable because they compromise for the world's sake. The Pope, deadbeat. The Pope has just, he said so many sacrilegious things and he's done so many antichrist things, and nobody's wanting to address it. I remember, what is that place over in Europe that got struck by lightning? It was a huge church that got struck by lightning and burned. These are all signs from the Father, man, of his displeasure with us in our unreliable state. He's tired of us being deadbeats in all areas. I remember he told Peter, he kept asking Peter, do he love him? He asked him 3 times, do he love him? And Peter got frustrated. He was like, why you keep questioning my love? It's like, well, if you love me, then feed my sheep. And how many people out here who was given the mandate to feed the sheep are out here taking the money from the sheep? You know what I'm saying? Or out here leaving the sheep starving while they're eating good. Or out there making sure that only certain sheep eat and other sheep, have to just get the crumbs that the exalted sheep are getting. There's so many different scenarios of deadbeats in this world that we can explore. And I've said the main core ones: the deadbeat children, deadbeat fathers, deadbeat mothers. You got deadbeat grandparents as well. You got, and I've witnessed it with my own eyes. I'm not saying any names, but there are some deadbeat grandparents out there. There are some people who are so caught up in themselves, even after they've um, messed up their child's life, or neglected their child's needs, and their child's going on to grow up and become a father or a mother themselves. And now, as a grandparent, they're still so caught up in themselves that they don't have anything to even offer their grandchildren, and their deadbeat grandparents. Now, as a grandparent, do you have an obligation to do this and that, and take the burden out of the parents' hands? No. But as a grandparent, you do have an obligation to lead your generation, to guide your generation. That's very important. And that is a job that is left to the elders of the family. So, this whole term deadbeat can go so far, and it can cover so many broad spectrums. Um, you could say that Putin is a deadbeat. Putin is an absolute deadbeat for putting his people in the position that he's put them in, for all of the lives that have been lost over this senseless war. You know, Putin's a deadbeat for that. But I ain't gonna beat a dead horse. So I hope y'all got something out of this, and just think about this term deadbeat. Think about what it truly means, and think about people who are falling under this description of what a deadbeat is. Because if you really apply the proper meaning of the word to the proper people, then a whole lot is going to open up to you, and the picture is going to get a lot more clear. This is your boy D Mac, man. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.